All right, we are going to make a full-size mum, but it's only going to have a 12-inch skirt. But I'm still going to do either a 5.5 or a 6.5-inch flower. So I will cut my ribbons at about 13 to 14 inches long. This mum is going to be baby pink or pink, hot pink, white, and silver. I've already made the braids. I got to do the skirt. Six-inch backer cut in half. I've got 8 of each color. That's just where I'm starting. I'll add more if I need to. This is a grosgrain ribbon. Sparkling ribbon. Diamond dust. whatever. I'm just gluing that to the ribbon.
And then you can glue bling and glue bling all the way around, or just on one side. Okay, in this point of the video, my family was home. It got loud in the background and TV was playing, so I had to mute the sound. I may not voice over the rest of this, but I'll voice over parts of it, and I cannot add music to videos anymore that already have sound. If there's no sound, I can add music. Otherwise, I cannot. That's just the way YouTube's doing it now. So these loops, I cut the loops at 6 inches. That's the general rule for cutting loops. If I'm doing smaller mums, like a 5-inch backer and 5-inch, 5.5-inch flower, sometimes I'll cut them at 5. Same with 4, and so on and so on. But I'm cutting these at 6 inches, and then I'm going to cut them at 12 because I'm doubling them, so why not cut them at 12 and fold them in half and then use that instead of putting 2 pieces together. But I'm doing that because first of all, I want it to be thicker. That's the main part. I want the loops to hold up. And if you just use that wired ribbon, I think that was a wired ribbon. It may not have been, but it was. It's not going to hold its shape. It's a floppy ribbon, so it's just going to make a flat loop. It's not going to look good. And you can do it with just one, but it's more likely to still not hold its shape real well. It'll do better, but doubling that acetate is going to make it a lot thicker, and it's going to make it hold its shape a lot better. Also, if I was doing the acetate on top, I would want to double it just so it wouldn't show through. So now I'm going to secure my flower, take all that off, cut off that little end there, and then I put the chenille stem through, push it all the way through, and then I'm going to tie a couple of knots so it doesn't pull through, and then I add hot glue as well. People there's lots of different versions on how to secure a flower, so whatever looks best for you, like whatever you think will work for you, or try different ways, and whatever works for you, that is fine. You don't have to do it just because somebody else is doing it a certain way. This has worked for me for years, so that's what I like, especially for the bigger flowers. Like I said, I tie a couple of knots, add some glue just to make sure it's secure. Sometimes I'll add a little touch of glue to the back side too. Now I like to take a ribbon spool that's smaller than my backer, try to line it up as perfectly as possible, then just draw that circle, and then that gives me a guide on where to attach my loops, so I'm not attaching some of the loops too far in and too far out, because you'll be able to tell when it's finished if you've got some that are out further than the others. And then I like to do, if I'm doing my loops in sets of 4, then I'll do them north, south, east, and west. But I'm doing 5 loops here, and that pink acetate is actually it's a 2.5 inch, so number 40. Like I said, since I have 5, I'm going to lay them all out where I want them. Then I'm just going to take the pen or the marker and just kind of mark where they each need to go real quickly, and that's just going to help me be more efficient. And have them on there nice and neatly where they match and hopefully don't look funny. And then I'll go in with the other 5 in between those spots to fill in. And you can keep making as many layers as you want of loops in the background. You just think about your budget, you know, the looks you're going for and everything else. Size of the flower. If you have a smaller flower and a bigger backer, you know, you can add another layer of loops, or you could add tinsel, feathers, you could add all kinds of stuff to fill it in. And on these last two, I'm making sure that I've got them spread out as evenly as possible. Like I said, I'm going in with another set of loops, so that helps. But still, if you have two loops that are like spread out much further than the other ones, it's going to look funny. So try to get them as evenly as possible. And then the last one, again, I want to try to even it out between, you know, the left and right side loops. And then when you're placing that one, try to center it between those two loops as best you can. I think this was actually the first pink mum I made, believe it or not. And she wanted different shades of pink. Okay, I'll try to remember to mark to edit that out so I don't get Kit-Kat's bark coming through loud. And last one. Now I'll put the flower in, make sure that everything is covered up, it's nice and full. Like I said, if you need to go through with another set of loops, then go ahead. Sometimes you can upgrade to a different size flower if you need to. Just whatever is working best for you. Cut that off and fold it up. And there's some pink soft satin that's going to be for the pin-on and the ribbon necklace. And I'm going to attach that. On this one, I decided to do it on a completely separate backer. And be sure to glue that flower down as well. Doing that for security and to cover up everything, because you don't want those petals to move over, like if it's windy or something, or someone just rubs up against it, and then you can see, you know, all that mess under there with the staples and stuff. So you're doing that to cover all that up and to secure it. Okay, most of the time I just attach the ribbon necklace and or pin on to the back of the mum head that I already just finished. For some reason, I'm doing it on a separate one. I mean, I guess sometimes I do that, but a lot of times I just do it on the back of the mum head. So it just depends on my mood, honestly. You can do it however you want to do it. So I used to do it on the middle section where I attached, you know, the braids and chains and all that. But since I started doing half backers on those, it's more difficult to do that. So I started doing it on the back of the mum head. But here I am doing it on a separate one. But I feel like that's kind of a waste because I'm adding a whole nother layer there. But if you were needing to make it thicker or more secure, you know, the top part, maybe it's too floppy or something, I don't know. You could do this, just add another backer in there. I think I'm going a little over 24 inches. I usually go at least 24 inches, a little bit more for tying on a ribbon necklace. I'd rather have too much ribbon on there than not enough. Alright, so I'm gluing on the ribbon necklace, and then I'm going to staple it just like I did the pin on. Glue and staple just to make it extra secure. My dogs keep barking at traffic driving by and stuff, so I don't know how well this is going to go over. I'm trying to get some voiceover on here, but I'm frustrated. I've been doing voiceovers all day, and every time I start, somebody starts banging around in the kitchen or dogs barking or something. It's the way it always goes. The house will be so quiet, and then as soon as I start voiceover, it gets really loud. So again, staple, staple, staple. I do several. I want to make sure it doesn't come off. It does. I guess you couldn't help it if the ribbon tears, but just try to use a decent quality ribbon for that. Something that's not too thin. And I think I'm trying to grab a pin. I've already since moved my craft room all around a couple of times since then, but I think I used to have them on the table or kind of behind. It looks like I'm adding one pin, TJ, just one safety pin, not 8. I usually do give them 2 now. I may have added another one since then, and I wasn't sure. I don't know if they weren't sure how she wanted to wear it, so if I'm not sure, or if the customer's not sure, I'll go ahead and do both like that. It's not a big deal. They don't have to choose if they don't want to. So I'm going ahead and attaching. Usually I'll attach the braids and chains to the back of the mum head, and then do a clean backer. But actually I kind of like that I'm doing it this way. I know you're saving a half backer by doing the ribbon streamers on a half backer and then adding this whole section. I'm wasting a whole full backer, but it actually seems like it probably made it a lot easier attaching the mum head to this section by doing this. Because doing the half backers, as much as I love that for attaching the braids and stuff, it does for me make it a little bit more difficult to attach the mum head, especially if it's a bigger mum and a heavy mum. So I did kind of like doing this. So if you don't mind wasting, another backer, you're gonna do it this way. I don't think I've done it like this since then, because when I was watching this video over, like doing the first edits, I was like, oh, I don't remember doing that. So it's not commonly how I do this, but I feel like it did make it easier looking back. It's so much easier to line that up, and then you've got that whole backer to attach the mum head to. Just trying to line it up, trying to make sure where do I want the loops to face, what looks best to me. So that's why I keep holding it up too. Like, I'm not just trying to line the backers up, I'm also trying to figure out what direction I want the mum head going, what's going to look best for it. And usually I'll put a couple of staples at the very top if I have a full backer there. That way it's secure on there and it's not going to move. And again, I can hold it up and make sure that everything's where I want it. And then you can lift it up and glue under there and then finish it off with some staples around the ends. Alright, I'm going to add the clean backer, but first I'm just going to cut or use a little scrap piece of ribbon to cover up that circle in the center, that hole in the center. I don't like that. I like it to be clean. I don't like to see anything under there, so sometimes I'll just put a sticker on the very outside, or cover it up with a piece of ribbon or a piece of chipboard or something that's the same color. So you want to get all the, make sure you glue really well. Not a whole bunch of glue. I'm just gluing around really well, but I'm not using a thick amount of glue, otherwise it would ooze out all over the place, so you don't want to do that. And I just want to press down really, really well and make sure that everything's nice and secure, and that there's no gaps. I don't like gaps between the backers, and no more stapling after this point, so make sure you're pressing down. Sometimes I'll even put hilo holders all the way around to keep it pressed down until the glue dries. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm using a partial sheet of cardstock, and so when I put it on the mat, I got to make sure that on the screen, the mat on the screen with the designs, that they are in the same place as where the glitter cardstock is on the actual mat. That way when I cut them out, they actually cut out. So, when you're using partial sheets, you got to be careful that the design is on the same spot on the digital map or mat as the physical mat. And that's what I'm working on right here. I'm like moving, you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm moving the images around on the mat, and then I'm counting by using the grid on the mat how far over and how far up and down. So that's what I'm doing here, if you wondered what weird thing I'm doing with my finger. Finger on the glitter cardstock and then hand moving around on the computer, but that's what I'm doing. See, I'm counting over. Okay, how much space do I have? Will that image work in that space? Will it cut out? And so that's what I'm doing. If I can avoid using a big piece of a brand new sheet, then I will. Okay, it looks like I had some cutouts already made, but I was decided to, add that softer pink too, since her mom was two different colors of pink. Now this was before I was able to find a good hot pink or darker pink colors. Now I've since shown some good pinks from 12 by 12 cardstock shop. The Diva Pink and the Neon Pink are the two that are really, really popular, and they match what was it, the Neon Pink matched the hot watermelon color. I think that was it. I put a post about it. I showed them side by side. But this pink, this was named hot pink, but it was from Hobby Lobby, and it was the only hot pink they had, but it was more on the purple side. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that it was such a different shade of pink, but it was the only option at the time, the only one I knew of, the only one I could find, and the customer was fine with it. But I did decide at first, I just did the hot pink, silver, and white, and then I decided to add in some of the softer pink or regular pink, since we did regular pink too. And that's what I'm doing here. So some of these, I actually went ahead and glued another layer on top of them in that regular pink or softer pink, whatever you want to call it. I think it was from Hobby Lobby too. But that one in my right hand went on top of the Texas, and so I did the softer pink on the Texas to add in some of that pink, and I was much happier with the cutouts after I added that softer pink on a lot of them. I think everything's cutting out right now. That's why I'm like just looking at the cutouts, because there's nothing I can do. My machine's working and now they're cut out. So see, I did the J thing with the weird little shape. That was, I can't remember the name of the school now, but I had made them several mums. That is their little logo. So I did the softer pink on that. You see the top layer of the Texas I had done, and the soccer ball heart I had done in the softer pink. So I just had to glue those layers on top. Yeah, I was much happier with that, and I think I walked over and held it onto the mum just to see what it would look like. And yeah, I like that much better. Like I said, that pink, that hot pink from Hobby Lobby was just too purplish. It did not match the ribbons at all. So it was very frustrating. I had no idea about 12 by 12 at this point. I think I discovered 12 by 12 in 2024 from Andrina's Creations. I watch a lot of her. So she's a paper crafter. She makes a lot of custom party favors. So when it comes to like card stocks and all that kind of stuff, she is the expert. In Silhouette Studio. And I was just looking in her description trying to find what cardstock, because she'll say in lives and stuff what she uses, but I don't always remember. And I went in her description and there it was. So that's when I made my first order, and I have videoed every time I've shown my unboxings. Okay, this is the end of the video. You know, I didn't get the complete mum done, but I showed you lots of aspects of making this mum. This is just a little recap that GoPro does sometimes on my videos, and I liked it, so I thought I'd add it at the end. But I hope this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment, share, subscribe, like, all that good YouTube-y stuff. But please be kind with your comments. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Happy mum making. Happy crafting. And I will catch you all on the next one. God bless.